The Human Game Console Podcast number 001 001 000010. Gosh, I booked that one. Hu.Gam.C Console Podcast. We are on the title. Give me a moment. Is life hard, complicated, or both? You know, back in my day. Nah, I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way. When you think about it, it's not that we don't know what we're doing with our lives. We just don't know what to make of them. But to be fair, you don't really have to have those answers anyways. According to our title, is life hard, complicated, or both? I'd say it probably is both. In my experience, the people who say life is hard are referring to the difficulties they encounter outside their control, or should I say locus of control. It's the locus of control we consider internally rather than externally. If you know what the locus of control is, you know that people are supposed to imply that it's about the internal control we have, not the so-called external control, if that's even a paradox. Yeah, so don't focus on what you don't have control over, and don't worry about what you didn't have control over. Just focus on the internals, so to speak. But the people who primarily and specifically say that life is complicated, especially when they refer that to their experiences altogether again, they're talking about how experiences help you understand life. There was an episode of Miraculous Ladybug, and I quote, one of the children said, life may be like, is probably what I understand as a little kid. Yeah, and they're not saying that out loud. Kids, stupid dumb kids. Life is kind of like a puzzle. You don't really understand what it's like at first, but as you go along, even if you don't have the so-called right answers at first, you still find ways to do things better than you did before, as if it were the right answer. You don't have to really understand what the whole picture is, let alone the big picture, but you are the kind of person who can adapt to it as far as that's concerned. And a quote of one of the other people I've mentioned, this guy, who's mentioned this to himself because of his advice, it doesn't necessarily get easier. You at least get better at handling and dealing with these things, attitude or whatnot. You're the kind of person who doesn't want to have to ask that things get better, only that you become stronger. And that's technically the same thing. So yeah, when life is actually considered both things, it could be the amalgam of, literally being hard and complicated. But if you want a complete mixture of that sounds fusion-oriented, mixture of the hard and complicated words, that would technically be one other word, and that would be not amalgam. Don't mind me, this is the guy who overthinks. It'd be, well, let me think about that word for a second. Anyways, let's get down to here. You have the power to not only mend your past outcomes, but to attract the future you want. As per the other quote, being kicked while down already after getting beaten the first time is, according to, again, one of these other folks who told me that. Thank the Lord. Well, the guy holding this hand isn't, I guess, like the Catholic, but we'll get into that maybe in other videos. Jeez. Hashtag spirituality. It's not that you never knows these things happening. As per the guy holding this hand, he doesn't always say that he knows what's happening around him, but he always says that he knows what he's doing. Call that bragging very much, you. I mean, thank you very much. But he's always saying that even without knowing the outcomes or the circumstances, he will always try his best. Ain't that right? Yeah, anyways. there's not. Basically, if you look at the world at large, you'll notice that even our own entertainment won't deny that life is hard, and that life can be a bitter pain in the ass, suffering inevitable or not, you name it. When these pieces of fiction say that they know that life can be hard and complicated, they don't just stay there. They say that they can still choose to attitudinally say that they should prefer to see the simple things in the piece of the side of life, slices, side to side, life is side to side, life is a life, the side of life, the slice of life that prefers on their end, on their own accord, that it can be that much more peaceful and simple. And that's because their attitude is with how they choose that. When when you believe and when you affirm that life really is 90% what happens to you and 10% of how you react to it. Other way around. 90% of how you react to the 10% that happens to you. My bad. Anyways, don't look at tape I cry. What deal I'm trying to say is, in this podcast episode, we're just saying, all I'm saying with Mr. Cashboy's hand is that life is perhaps both hard and complicated. If it was only hard, we're referring to the difficulties that you overcome, invigorated-wise or not. According to the Naruto Uzumaki or Rock Lee references this Cash Boy made before, about not having to always invigorate push through your problems, even though that could still be quite the point sometimes. But if it was only complicated instead of hard, it is then instead referring to something similar, which is like, having to think through some of your things, use your brain at least part of the time, and then push forwards nonetheless. There is no telling that you can't have problems the wrong way, but in the end, you will always have challenges and obstacles. It's not so much that you're not supposed to do something unless you have a straight up roadblock, which is a different story. This Cash Boy can explain in another video. But you know that those challenges and obstacles never actually end, do you? You know that you can never avoid that, even if you are trying your best to succeed. The people who have it real down bad, even they have their own challenges and obstacles. Doesn't matter if they're not trying to survive or thrive, whatever that's supposed to mean. Don't need to get morbid there. But honestly, there is enough people who don't have to suffer the wrong way. When they say that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, that is the saying to say that is, you're not trying to suffer the wrong way, is the point. You're not trying to suffer the wrong way and not trying to make things work. Now, if you're as stubborn as this kid, of course you're not going to suffer the wrong way if you're trying as stubborn as he is. But honestly, everyone will pretty much know everything other people don't, and the things that they don't always get across the right way first, there are mistakes they'll make even when they get things right the first time. It's a good thing to get things right the first time, but you're not having to only rely on what you have. As according to one of the other previous videos, don't just stick with what you can prove. Find ways to learn and adapt and evolve quickly enough, but also at a pace that you desire, and you'll make it there. If life was like a box of chocolates, and you find the gritty ones that are literally hard and figuratively complicated, that'd be the point. You don't expect that. You don't expect to know, to understand, or to be able to succeed at what it's offering you. My bad, my eyeball's sticking off me. You don't expect to know or succeed at that. You just need to work with what you got, with what you have. It's not supposed to be facetious or stubborn to say it like that. It's true. You don't have to be hard on yourself about that. Just keep pushing forward. Take for granted what you need to without being presumptive. There goes my raspy voice. Gosh, even my fictional dictation comes tiring all of a sudden. Wow. Thanks for giving me a fake mouth without any lips, my boy. As we come to a close in this podcast episode, I would like to thank this other arm for drawing well, I can't really put him on the screen, but for drawing my eyeballs and making light of this podcast episode. It's not so much that this isn't a serious ordeal. It's just that we have so much to be thankful for. We don't need to know what's around the corner or what's ahead of us, good or bad. Terribly speaking, it's not that we don't know what's good about our situations, but we don't have to take life seriously. We don't have to know what's going to come out of our successes or failures, even if we really think we're failing when we don't actually need to see that way, and vice versa. We don't need to be on our high horse assuming that every success we have is going to only be good. That comes to other philosophies when not this guy would come up with. This brainiac kind of a man over here that I just called a kid 3 minutes ago. It's not, gosh, I'm actually tired of moving my hand like this. It's almost as if I'm actually talking through it, which I technically am. It's, well, yeah, anyways, to come to a close, life seems to be both hard and complicated. Again, I'll rinse and repeat this one last time. If life is only hard and not complicated, we're thinking about pushing through our problems instead of being stagnant. If we're only thinking about the complications instead, we're not just worried about why things come at a standstill. We want to understand what's really happening, even if we never get to. Some people may say you never get closures for all things in life. I beg to differ. I think that we get answers to everything and more. We get more than we want, and we especially get what we don't see coming in the best possible light. For you to have that in the same sentence, that is all. Didn't explain much there, but there you go. And content. That's slowly peeling my eyeballs off? Wow, you're scarier than the ideas you make, man.